Hi everyone, welcome to the English conversation. The topic for this week is education, and we are going to talk about a little bit, because it's a complicated topic and very long, about education in Germany and in Spain and some differences.
Yes.
We will start first with the education system, like the levels of education. And as you can see, I have the picture in Spanish because there are some names that I cannot translate into English, but I will do it in the video. The education system in Spain looks like this. We have the kindergarten, which is the same from 0 to 6 years old. Then we have the primary education, which is from 6 to 12 years old. Then we have the secondary education, when you change from the school to the high school, we say.
So this is
The primary education
Yes.
is in the school.
Mhm.
And
second.
so yes,
It's in the high school.
yes,
This is the high school.
yes. So when we are 12, we always make like a trip to say bye-bye to our friends, and then we go to different high schools, or yes, the same or different, but you can be separated. And we start the high school from 12 to 16. We have the secondary education, and then we have from 16 to 18 2 years of bachillerato, which is also in the high school. So like you are with the people of the secondary education, but these 2 years are determinant that I will explain later for the superior education, which is the translation from Spanish, which is you can do a university or you can do a superior degree. And from 16 years old, if you don't want to do bachillerato, you can do directly the medium degree.
Okay. So, but these are all like you only have one type of school. Like every school, you can do like this secondary education,
Yes,
and it's the same stuff you learn.
yes,
Okay.
yes, it's the same. Like we only say where are you now or where are you studying, and we say la ESO, which is the education, the secondary
Yes.
education. Yes, all the schools
Okay.
have the same system.
Okay. And when you leave this school without doing the bachillerato, what do you do? Like
Yes,
you do,
you can do a medium degree,
which
as
means
we
it's
call.
another school.
No, it's like imagine a master that is of 1 or 2 years. So the same, but in a lower level, specifying
For your
for your job. So you
Okay.
specify,
But
and you don't have to.
But one more question: when you specify for your job, is it more like practical or more in a school? You know
No,
what I mean?
practical.
More
It's
practical. So you
for-
work.
Yes.
Do you earn money?
No.
Okay, so you work, but you learn. You're
You
practically
learn
learning,
how to
so-
work, like it's in a practical
Okay,
way, and you have internships. It's based
Yes.
more in internships.
Okay. 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 And so now the German system. Some people from the German conversation might recognize this picture. As you can see, the German system is very complex, I say. So I will try to explain it as easily as possible. Also, like in the Spanish picture, there are many German words because you cannot really translate them into English. So, as you can see, like the school, or maybe you cannot see it, but the school starts here. This is grade 1 when you are 6 years old. In Germany, you have to go to school from the age 6 to the age 18. So you have, but I will later explain here, doesn't necessarily mean school, but you have to to learn something. I say like this.
So
to
you
learn something.
cannot, as in Spain, leave the school when you are 16?
You can, but then you do something. This is called Ausbildung, which in Spanish is formación,
Yes.
and in English it means something like apprenticeship.
And you have to.
You have to do it. Yes, exactly. Like you cannot leave the school with 16 and then say I do nothing.
No, in Spain, yes.
No, because you have to do something at least until you're 18. Okay, so before you start school, you can put your child into the kindergarten. Actually, the English word comes from the German word kindergarten. Or before, even from the age I think from 3 months on, you can put them in something before the kindergarten, but actually mostly these things is 2 in 1.
Yes.
So you have kids from the age 1 to 6 all in this kindergarten, but different than, for example, in the UK. We don't learn, well, we, of course, the kids learn something there, but there are no lessons or no classes. Like, it's really only playing, eating
Yes.
together, and so on.
Yeah.
And then in the grade 1, you start with learning to read and so on. And then you are 4 years only in the elementary school. Like, this is the elementary school, only 4 years. So until you are 9 years old, you are in the elementary school. And then you or your parents have to decide what kind of these 4 kinds of schools you want to attend. So this is one of the big controversials in the German school system, because you are only 9 years old and this
Yes.
decides your future. Like, it really does.
And your parents decide in general, not you.
Well,
also.
yes, for me, for example, my father told me, well, of course it's your decision, but I have to say, like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. I couldn't imagine my future. I was 9 years old. So, of course, it's very hard. So, but it's true that basically it's 3 types, like this, this, and this. And then this is something called complementary school, I think in English, which you have basically all 3 schools in one. So, and I was at this school. So there you have these 3 paths, I say, but it's all in one school. And this is basically, this is the basic school, this is in the middle, and this is the highest school.
But how you get directly to a highest?
Well, you get marks in the elementary school, and your teachers then give you a recommendation. So they can say, I recommend you to go here, to go here, or to go here. I don't know exactly, it's a little bit complicated. If this recommendation, it's not always that you have to follow it. Like, it's not a rule, it's a recommendation. So also when you say, when your teachers give you the recommendation for this school, you can apply for this school. But it's the problem in Germany also, it's different in every Bundesland, so in every region. Like, they have a little bit different. For example, I know that in Berlin, the elementary school is 6 years. So, like, it's very, very different in the different regions. But this is like this is the basic for
But
everything.
it's very surprising for me, because in Spain, the people say always, because of the autonomous communities, we have a lot of differences in education, but not in the system. Do you understand? But in comparison to you, like,
this
it's
is also
amazing.
another like critical point, or like controversial point, that it is so different. I think it has advantages, but it also has many disadvantages. So, but anyway, and these 3 schools, the difference between the schools is basically what you learn. So here you learn the easiest things, and this is like the hardest things. And in this school, you get divided into groups based on your like performance and your marks. So you have some like the easier or the not so important classes, like, for example, I don't know, geography or something, you have all together, like, on one level. But the more important classes, like German or math, you get divided after 2 or 3 years, you get divided into one of these 2 levels. Like, you either have this or this level here. So I was in this school, but I had all my classes on this level. You understand? Yes.
Oh
but so if you don't understand,
it's easy to understand, but it's difficult way.
Yes. And then you see here the qualifications you get. So when you're in this school, you are trying to get this qualification. When you're in this school, you are trying to get this. So this is like the Abschluss means qualification, basically, and this is the Hauptschule, so you get the Hauptschule qualification, and the same here. And here you get basically this qualification, but with an extra, and this extra means you can visit this. This means something like high school. If you compare it to the American, this is the high school, the last 3 years of school. So if you go here, you get your qualification. In the end, you get the qualification for your Abitur, or you do your Abitur, like your final exams, which in Spanish is the bachillerato, like just a qualification. And this means you can go to university. Like if you have this, you can go to university. But of course, because it's Germany, it's not that easy. You can also, with this qualification, go to some special schools, I say, who are a little more oriented towards the practical things. But there you can make a special kind of Abitur, like the Fachabitur, which means for one specific field. And then you can study in this field also. So for example, you can do like your Abitur in the field, like, I don't know, electrotechnical science.
Yes, it's more
and then
specific.
it is possible to study electrotechnical science. But I think it's also like, this is very complicated. Even I don't know it so much because I have this.
But maybe it's very specific.
Yes.
You have to know exactly what you want.
It is more specific, but sometimes it's also possible to do like the specific Abitur and just study everything. Like this is very, very complicated. I know that if you have the specific Abitur, you cannot study things like law, become a doctor, like medical school.
Really?
Yes, like these are like I would say like the highest protected studies in Germany are like this, like the doctor, law, and there's one more, I think, I don't know it right now, that you can really only study with this. But then there are other sciences that you can study also with this, like the specific Abitur. Yes, and this is the path, like the really different path. You can do this with this qualification, but you can also do it with these qualifications, because then you are just higher qualified, but you can still do this. This means you do, like, you go to a company and you work there for 3 years, you get paid, but at the same time you also go to school. Like you have, for example, in the week 3 working days, 2 school days.
So like internship, paid internship at the same time.
More or less, but you really, like, you learn the job, and then at the end you should be qualified to do the job. So for example, you go to, like, an easy example, you go to a bakery 3 times a week, you work there in the bakery, you do work you are more or less qualified for it, so you learn every day, of course, and then 2 days in a week you go to school, you learn about, I don't know, like the finances of a bakery and so on, and also English, business English is what they get taught there. And then at the end of the 3 years, you are a baker. Like you have the qualifications to do a baker. Yes, this is like very specific. If you do this, like you have a job for life in these times, I don't know, but like this is the intention, like that you have one job that you do for the rest of your life. Yes. So this is the system. And this is what I mean. So basically in this, you don't have grades anymore, like real grades, but you still go to school. So you, until you're 18, you have to go to school.
But for me, it's amazing that, as you said, from like when you are so young, you have to decide among very different things, and this determines when what you will be. Because if you decide something, maybe later you cannot change it.
It is possible, for example, here to go from this school to this. Like this is also possible, but it is hard. It's harder because you learn less, I say.
Yes, that's why I told
so you have to learn a lot or catch up on a lot. Like, and it's possible to change between those 3 schools, but it is hard. Like I would say, like, of course it's easier to practically go down. Like if you are very bad here, like and are not happy, you can go, for example, to this school. So that's fine. But of course it is harder to go from this school to this school. Like, Yes, I hope I did an okay job explaining this because it's really complicated. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, like, I'm curious of how the people do exchanges in the studies when my, for example, my cousin went to study there, how he did it, like to convalidate, because he told me he had some problems in convalidation.
But
some
did he go in school or in university?
No,
in
he
school.
went to school. So sometimes it's difficult. taking into account this.
Well, we are going to talk now about the payment, and we are going to go to university. But first, the public school is free in Spain.
Yes.
And the private one you have to pay. But university you have to pay both, either public or private. So this is a shame. And well, we have the degree. You can do the degree 4 or 5 years if it's double degree, that it also exists. And then the master is 1 or 2 years. It depends on the master, so you decide. And well, about the payment, as I told Wiebke and everyone, and they are surprised, we have to pay university, and it's expensive. So my conclusion is, you cannot study if you don't have money, which for me is very bad. And then the government, they only give you help if you apply for some scholarships. But for example, if you live far away from university, they give you some money, or according to the wages of your parents, how much they earn, they give you money or not. But in general, you always have to pay at least something. And they are very strict with the rules to give you scholarships. So this is very bad. And yes, and the masters are even sometimes more expensive. And yes, the masters in public universities, they are not very well developed. They don't try to encourage people to study in public universities. So many people prefer private masters if they can afford it.
Because both cost something anyway.
Both
so
cost,
also the public.
Yes,
so.
like there is a difference. But of course, if you say in public I have to pay a lot, and in the private master I have to pay also like more. But the difference of what you learn and what is going to give you a job, because the private ones they don't tell you will have a job, but they secure you some job opportunities. So of course the people who can pay it, they prefer the private. And for example, I will study in a private, and I am in favor of public. That's what I hate. But for me, for my future, it's better to go to private university in the master. And I decided to do the public university. But then the master, yes, I will do it private. And yes, it's a lot of money, and they only want the money. So they don't help us.
Yes. And in Germany, the school is also free, so you don't have to pay anything for the public school. And all the schools that I showed you, like, they are public schools, all of them. Of course, everyone, there are also private schools of every type, I think, but mostly of the gymnasiums. And then the university is also free, so you don't have to pay anything for studying. However, like, of course you have costs like books, and if you want to move out to live, you have costs, and so on. So I would say it's also like, you need also money if you want to study. However, you can apply for student loans, something like this, from the state. This depends very much on how much your parents earn. So you have to, like German bureaucracy, like you have to fill in a lot of forms and so on.
Yes.
And then you can get this money, and I think you need to pay half of it back. But don't quote me on this, I'm not completely sure, because I have not started to study yet, so I don't know. But yes, I think that you have to pay half of it back, and if you have very good marks, you have to pay even less. So yes.
We also have this, like, if you have, they choose more or less 2 or 3 people with the highest mark, but also, well, from a mark up, and you don't pay this subject.
Yeah.
Well, you pay everything in the beginning, and then they give you back the money of the subjects.
But this money that the state gives you in Germany, it's for living, for buying books, and so on. And you also have to pay some money to the university, and you get like a ticket for the public transport and so on. So you can use this money for this. And in Germany now, a few years ago, there was like a reform of the universities. And now we also have like the, I think, international system of bachelor and master degrees. And normally, like, if you study in the like normal time, we say regular study time in German, you have the bachelor for 3 years and the master for 2. So in the most subjects, so you study 5 years total. But I know many people who study more years because then it's less stressful, or they work next to their studies or something. So
I knew that in many countries from abroad, not in Spain, from Spain, they have the 3 years of the bachelor.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, and then what about grades? Do we want to talk about this?
Yes, briefly to finish about grades. We also have differences. In Spain, we put the marks according, like from 0 to 10. The 0 is the lowest mark, and the 10 is the highest. And you pass the exam with a 5, the middle.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is...
Well, in German we have like the marks now. This is according to the school, not to the university. We have the marks 1 to 6. And 1 is the best and 6 is the worst.
The opposite.
And you can also have something like a 4+. So it's not it's a 4, but it's with a plus. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a little bit better than a 4. Like it's a 4 leaning towards a 3. I think this is the explanation. And then later, in the last 3 years of school, if you do your Abitur on the gymnasium, you get these marks, but then these marks resemble also points from 1 to 15 points, and 15 points is the highest. So you have, I will just tell you this, it's very complicated. I only understood it when I had it. But so you have 1 to 15 points. So the 1 plus, so the best possible mark, resembles 15 points. And then you have 1, 14 points. 1 minus, 13 points, and so on. And the more points you have in the end, the better is your mark, your final mark. And then you have the average of your final mark. And this is the mark that you need if you want to get into university. It's this average mark. And 1.0 is the best average, and 4.0 is what you need to pass. Yes.
For the bachillerato, for the university, we have the average of bachillerato, the 2 last years of the high school. This average of the marks plus the exam, we have to do an exam to enter to university. So the exam is 40%, and the average of bachillerato is 60% of a total of 100%. So, and this altogether.
Yes. So in Germany you don't have to do entry exams to the university at all. However, if you study, for example, art, some universities you have to put some artwork. You have to apply with some artwork, and then they decide. If you do more the artistic studies, or for example, if you want to study music, you have to show that you have to play an instrument, and you also have to do an exam. It depends a little bit on what you want to study, but in general, you don't have to do extra exams.
But I really like it because it just stresses you a lot. It's because you finish the bachillerato, and in 2 weeks you have the exam. And the exam is about the 2 years of bachillerato, the whole, so you have to have in your head to memorize everything of 2 years, and then something is in the exam, and you have to feel it. For
me, this is also crazy, because why am I learning so hard for my final school exams? Because this is how I get into university. But if I imagine that I learned so much for this exam, and then I have to do another exam
of everything. So, and then you, as always, it's memorizing, and you forget everything. You only want to enter. You want to have the highest possible mark, because you don't know what it will be the mark of the university, So, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yes. And I also had the experience, especially learning for my history exam, that I was like, oh my god, this is so interesting. I want to learn more about this. But then I had to say no, because this is not necessary for the exam. I need to focus on the other things I have to learn. So I had I cut off my own interest because maybe it would have gotten me 2 extra points, but then I would lose 10 points in the exams for the other topics. So yeah.
Also complain about it.
Yes. Well,
okay, so that's everything.
Yes.
For today, we hope you learned a lot about our education systems and you saw the differences, which are very big. And yes, we will see you in the next video.
Yes, have a good week, stay healthy, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.